All right, let me hit the got it button there and done. Alrighty, guys. I know this is kind of like it's seeming like it's literally like 2:52 anti-meridian Eastern, but peaceful greetings to you all. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Islam, Islam, Islam. I am Brother Hassan Ghazi Obey here in Morocco at Northwest of Maxim. Look, man, we was like on a random, guys. If you guys remember Make Real from lawfulliving.com, like I had him and Malika on before. So I saw he was like live on TikTok with Homestead Nation. And like there were a few other people there. So one of the brothers that were there was it's at first I saw Checkmate, but I heard him say Caleb. So I was like, okay, cool. But as you guys can see, if you can, I'm not sure. Well, you said you weren't able to cam up, but it's Caleb Holt, all right? So what I possibly could do is just kind of go to his TikTok so you guys can see who we're speaking with tonight. So let me actually type in Checkmate, right? How would it recognize so many checkmates, Caleb? So how would yours be distinguished from anyone else's?
Try searching ignorance be gone.
Alrighty, so let's do ignorance be gone. Got it right there. And so what I'll do is I'll come back and screen share real quick, right? And let me give you co-host while we're at it, just in case there's anything you want to share. And so, guys, I know, my immediate community is the Moorish community. So, guys, don't be hard if you hear anything that you're like, oh, that sounds this, and that, and that. Remember, in order to change the people, you must change their literature. So, with us bringing our people back into the constitutional fold of government, it would be probably wise to hear the perspectives of other people looking at the same information, you know what I'm saying? So that you guys can probably allow yourselves to be a lot more confident or a little more confident in whatever it is that you're studying or whatever by hearing it from other perspectives. So let me screen share. I know I gave you co-host already, but just a screen share. If you guys are familiar with Caleb, let me just go to TikTok right here. All right. So ignorance be gone is his page, right? And there's some things here that he has. Obviously, is dealing with, I guess, if people are into you guys are already like in the middle of some things contractually, but you're realizing that there's an issue with certain obligations or certain things aren't sitting well with you. This is Caleb's page. I'm guessing like if I brought in
the term
this one,
asset-backed security means a fixed income or other security collateralized by any type of self-liquidating financial
asset. Knock this out, right? So, Caleb, do you want to introduce yourself, bro? I know I just showed your page, but do you want to at least introduce yourself?
Once again, this is why we always push foundation.
Absolutely. So, if you're looking, my page is Ignorance Be Gone or Checkmate, depending on what you're looking at, and I deal in consumer law and all things metaphysical, spiritual, and law related, because again, just as much as this is a physical process, it's a spiritual process. And I'm quite well aware of the Moorish movement, about the true people of this country and this being our land from the beginning. I'm very well aware of all of those things. And so I'd like to start off by saying that, but also recognizing that in law, certain things don't matter as much as they do matter. And being able to recognize, okay, well, the banks don't really care my status as much when I'm trying to have interactions with them, or certain entities are not going to be focusing as much on what your status is or isn't. And so while that isn't the main focus, I try to show people on the side of consumer law how they can remove themselves from obligations and stop pledging themselves to take care of obligations that belong to other parties. So that's really what I like to focus on, and teaching people, giving them the tools to build their own houses. Because as I always say, I can build a house for you, But if that house gets knocked down, destroyed for any reason, then you'll be out of luck. You'll be out of a home. But if I give you the tools and the know-how to build your own home, then no matter what the circumstance is, you'll always be able to go back and have a place to rest, a place of dwelling. You'll have a foundation that is solid enough that you'll be able to achieve what it is you're looking to achieve in this process. And I want to stress that this process is not about paying a bill. This process is about freedom. It is about removing the yoke from your neck. And in order to understand this process, you have to read line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, because that is the way that you're going to free yourself. We are given remedy of this situation. And if one or two are able to figure out that remedy, let it be so. But they are looking for competent individuals who are able to manage their own affairs. And you do not want to speak to them in any other language but the language that they understand. If I'm trying to speak to a Chinaman in Japanese, it's not going to work. He's not going to understand my language. There's going to be a disconnect. So before you can engage in any activity, you must know what language is the opposing party speaking. Because if you don't know that language, then you do not know how you should proceed and deal with that person so that you can have a common understanding, a meeting of the minds in order to have any sort of lawful contract.
I totally dig that, bro. I mean, I will say like for myself and my brothers, you know what I'm saying? Like, of course, first and foremost, like we deal with the astrology and the civics. And for me, I've been 9 years in comprehending that which you're saying and making sure that I am aware. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying this for the listeners or people that'll watch this later. I'm fully aware about what it is you're saying, how you're saying it. It's like when we were in that live with Homestead Nation on TikTok, just literally maybe about 45 minutes ago until they like totally forced them to stop the live. I mean, yourself, Homestead, the sister that's Mad D, Smash TV, McReal, like everybody is obviously students in all of these things and are really doing what they can do to, one, make it better for themselves and their loved ones, while also at the same time being able to express one's comprehension, all of our comprehension pertaining to that which we're studying. And that's why over these past 9 years of myself, of course, yes, declaring and proclaiming my nationality and all these different things. However, over these 9 years, I recognize that there is a time and a place to be like, hey, okay, well, I'm going to use the so-called history along with the law, which together is jurisprudence, to say that, hey, I comprehend this from my ancestors' memoirs because this, and that. You know what I'm saying? However, when it comes to someone maybe getting themselves into, hey, I got this cell phone or whatever, and I don't want my cell phone to be turned off, but there's this 2-year contract, you know, there's some documentation that can be placed forward. And you can correct me, Caleb, if I'm saying this wrong, but there's some documentation that can be placed forward to the said let's say cell phone company, just for my example. And what they can do is go to that that federal window to be able to process whatever documentation you send them so that they can take care of or they can receive what they need for the rest of the length of the contract. So you don't have to find yourself being someone who, well, I got to punch the clock a little more. My cell phone bill is $180 this month, or I got to catch up on past due stuff. Did I say that correctly?
Yes. The way it works, at least from my understanding, from what I've been studying and what I found to be true, is that yes, well, initially your obligation, any obligation that they say you owe, is taken care of from the beginning because they receive full payment from the contract. Then they come back on us and they double dip. But yes, what they do is they take your instrument, your initial instrument to the Treasury. They get an at par rate for it, and then they will get the full value of the contract when it matures, whether that be in 4 weeks or no later than 52 weeks. So they get paid from your instrument. Anything outside of that is where it becomes an issue. So it is exactly that. They take your instruments to the Treasury, they process them, they receive their payment, and they go about their business. Now, the way that it's supposed to work is that in exchange for getting this credit on your behalf, the financial institution is supposed to get a small servicing fee. But again, that servicing fee would be covered in the amount of.
Say it again. You said the service fee will be. You said this. I think you cut out just a bit. You said the service fee will be covered in the amount of what?
The credit. So if I need a car that's $20,000 and they need a service fee of $500, the amount of credit that they would retrieve on my behalf is $20,500. They would take the $500 and they have just made their money. Now they give me the $20,000 and I can get whatever goods I was seeming to purchase, because under Title 12 in the banking powers, banks have the ability to borrow and give security, therefore, on your behalf. They're not allowed to loan out their own assets, or as they teach you, fractional reserve banking, where if 100,000 people put their money into the bank, only 1% of that, 10% of that is required to stay in the bank. The other 99 to 90%, they're allowed to trade. You see what I mean?
Got you. So basically, if you got a land conveyance, like you said, and it's 20 racks, and at the end of it all, for the servicing fee of whoever this manager of this transaction is, that's how I'm just going to look at it. You know what I mean? Like, say you're doing a special appearance at a club and you're like a rap artist and you're like, I want my 20 racks. And then, your manager's like, well, the promoter wants 500. So now there's this 20 grand, 500 in place. The promoter gets the 500 and you get the 20 grand, basically. That's what I'm hearing off of that. And it almost sounds like, too, because now McReal's joined in also. It sounds like when McReal is talking about endorsing the instrument for collection, that's what I'm hearing too in your language. However, the reason why we're doing this live, and I guess for me, it's like I'm being a Moorish daredevil right now, because, sometimes in the Moorish community, people are very stringent and inflexible when it comes to making sure at least grasp the concept and then take what you're hearing and be able to utilize it according to, your heart's desire or how you choose to be faithful in being in honor. However, I just wanted to make sure with what I said pertaining to your example, that not only do I comprehend it, but I was able to even say it in another way to maybe even for the audience, and to just for you to go, well, yeah, you comprehend it. And that's up for you too, McReal, to say, like, also like with what Caleb just put down, that's basically saying you're endorsing the instrument for collection. Because he's like, hey, man, if I want to get this land conveyance and it's 20 racks, it sounds like, Caleb, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying give me the land conveyance as well as the 20 racks.
Yes, that is the perk. Your house is the perk. Your car is the perk, because these things are already pre-owned and they have already pledged those titles to whatever bank they're going to as collateral. You see what I'm saying? So the car is the perk. The security is what you're issuing. The credit that they take that instrument to the Federal Reserve, according to the Federal Reserve Act, Section 16, and they receive the notes equal to the face value on the instrument. So if it's worth 20,000, they're going to get that. And if it's worth 20,500 because of the servicing fee, they're going to get that 20,500. Lawfully, they're only supposed to take what they're allowed to take, which is the interest and all of those things. But because we give them security interest and we tell them they can keep all the proceeds, they take all of the money that they garner from this transaction, even though it's supposed to be owed to you as the person who supplied them with the signature to be able to get that credit. Because the only way that these entities can function is with our signature that guarantees the funds. We are the guarantor. We are guaranteeing that these funds will be paid as they are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. So that is exactly correct.
And then they grant the vehicle for letting, for basically for the cost of us letting them use our shit. Right?
Yeah, flat out. I mean, yeah, that's why I want you and Caleb to share your wisdom. I yield. Go ahead, I'm listening.
No, I have been trying to fuck with you for a while, but I got busy, and then y'all blew up, and then shit. I was like, shit, I know it'll be hard to get in touch with you now, but I already knew Tamika prior to her meeting you. We go back on, back when she first started on Facebook. So
I love to hear that. And again, she's told me about you. And so I followed you immediately when I saw you in the lot, because I know that you're a knowledgeable person. And if you have that relationship with my auntie, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, because she's been doing this again before she met me for some time. So she's told me about people, and you're one of those people who she has spoken about. And so I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, you was shit. I don't know where you was at before. Hold on. I don't know where you was at before I got to TikTok or whatever, but I seen a couple, and then shit from the beginning of your videos to when you got with Tamika, I was like, damn, that nigga blew up quick. And I don't mean with followers, I meant with knowledge. So yeah, that's all. I'm just
so my question then, what you saying at McReal, like Caleb, like what was your inception then, bro? Like how did you when did the rapture in your own mind happen for you?
Yeah, so I've been very open with this from the beginning. I was in a car accident.
Oh shit.
Yeah, full on. I was driving. I was merging onto the highway. You know how that goes. There was a car. I was in the far right lane. There was a car in the next left lane. Now, going onto this highway, it's a 2-lane merger. So we're both coming off of the same interstate. Now, the road is closing off where it merges onto the highway. This person comes from behind my vehicle, accelerates well over the speed limit, and tries to pass me in the small moment where the road is closing off. So I have a choice to make. I'm either going to swerve into the wall and crash with my passengers, or I'm going to make collision with this vehicle, and I'm going to keep on going straight. So I ended up colliding with the vehicle. Now, again, this is before I have any of this knowledge. My first instinct, I immediately knew I'm coming out on the bottom of this situation. You see what I'm saying? I'm a young melanated being in America. I already know how it's going to go. This person was driving a BMW. You see what I'm saying? Fancy car. I'm not going to make any assumptions, but the police get involved. Of course, we give our statements. Magically, I'm the one who's at fault, because even though he broke the law, he broke their statutes by trying to accelerate and do that to me, because I was in the right lane, whatever nonsense they say. I had to go to court. And I was also, because unbeknownst to me, the car is insured. I do not have insurance myself. Does that make sense? My parents insured the vehicle. They did not insure me as a driver. So I went to court, and they ended up trying to stick me with the bill. But I had remembered seeing on TikTok a video where someone was saying your court case number is a bond, and you can use that to settle off and close your debt. You see what I mean? Now,
all right.
Even before I got into all this information, I was never the type to be like, that's BS. I'm not going to listen to it. I heard that, and I was like, that's interesting. So I saved that video. A couple weeks later, get into this situation, have to go to court. So I ended up taking a plea, because I started looking into that after I heard about, that situation. I was like, well, let me see about this. And it led me down a rabbit hole of the government being fraud, charges being commercial, all of these things. So I started off with the court aspect of it. The court aspect of it led me into the sovereign side of it, if that makes sense. And I also had a bill, $15,000 from this insurance company that I was like, I don't have $15,000 to pay. So when I had discovered about discharging, I was like, okay, I'm going to learn how to discharge this bill and I'm going to beat my court case. I took a plea. I had 1 year to complete all of the things and go back before the court with my plea completed, everything they told me to do. I told myself in this year, I'm going to discharge this bill and I'm going to learn how to resolve my court case. I did both of those things. That's really what led me into it. I had an interaction with the law, and already coming from a position where I'm like, I know that there's something wrong with the world. I know that there's something not right. I just can't determine what it is. And so
takes you going to court to figure it out.
Yeah, basically. And so not only did I discharge that bill, I went back into the court, rescinded my plea, fired the judge, and I'm a free man walking around today.
That is so interesting.
I had an interaction with the court system and I learned that it was fraudulent, and that led me down, like I said, one rabbit hole leads to another. I went down the banking side, House Joint Resolution 192, and I just started compiling all of these things together. And I was like, it makes so much sense. And that was kind of my my genesis. And so I was studying for myself about 6 months. And I had blown up on TikTok for like 3 months or so when I had met Tamika initially, and she reached out to me and she's like, let me talk to you. And I was like, of course, I'll talk to you. You seem like, she was posting receipts, and then she started mentoring me, and it took my knowledge to another level. But that's what it was. I had an interaction with the court system and I had to beat my own case. I had a bill that I had to discharge and I did it. And that's what led me down this path. And that's why I will fight so hard for others, because I was once in that position where I didn't know. And being in that position, I unknowingly took a plea that was against my best interest, but I rescinded that as quick as I took it. It took me a year. 1 year from the time that I got that ticket to when I went back in there and beat it, I did nothing but study consumer law.
That's all it is. I'm with you 100, especially when you talk about the court case being a bond. My stance is you open an account in my name. So any account is usually insured $250K FDIC, right? So, I mean, of course you should be able to discharge any motherfucking thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. This is what I go by. The courts are banks, and your bank is a brokerage. You see what I'm saying? It's a brokerage firm. You're an investor. The court is the only real bank. That's why they're dealing with those bonds. And that's why they have the armored truck come once a month to pick up these bonds that they're trading. And it's just so many people are not aware of that side. They're not aware of the fiduciary relationship that the judge is trying to establish, and that an account simply means to deposit. And when they're trying to collect any monetary judgment from you, when the United States is involved in litigation, it's the most basic code that you'll see, 28 United States Code 3002 subsection 15. When involved in litigation from a civil or criminal judgment trying to collect against you,
you can screen share, bro.
This is a federal corporation. That's
not to cut your wisdom. You can screen share. You guys come up with any codes. You can screen share, as a matter of fact.
That's 1692E all motherfucking day.
Let me give McReal co-host also, because if you guys come up with anything or say anything, I'm telling you, making it so you guys can screen share at any time you want to, right? To bring these things up so that not only are the codes being said, it can be, because when we was just on Homestead Nation joint, I wish I could have been like, okay, well look right here, boom, guys, read this, boom, look at that, read this, because that's kind of like how I do what I do. It's good to meet you, Caleb. I'm telling you, I wouldn't have met you if I didn't see McReal live. I'm literally just going to check, like, okay, let me check the TikTok, because I know I'm going to have to advertise for when we go live later on the day for Astro Civic Sunday. And when I saw McReal was live, I was like, let me see what bro doing. And when I saw what kind of form it was, I didn't know it was going to turn into what we're doing right now. You know what I mean?
Man, it be lit like that every other shit. I don't say every day, but the Homestead dude is I don't really know much about him, but he just kind of came in out of nowhere. But it was on another Chicks Alive who was actually studied under you, Caleb, and Tamika. Her name is Tanika.
So was Tamika's Mad D Smash TV? Is that who Tamika is?
No, that's another lady.
Okay.
I recognize her because I've seen her on my page a few times, and I know she be dropping some stuff. So that's why I was like, let me get in here and see. Because I also saw Homestead, and I've done a few lives with him, and yes, he's one of those people where he is, at least to my knowledge, he's newer on TikTok, or at least newer to me, but he's someone where, and I find this to be the case most often with a lot of the people who really know what they're talking about, they don't have that many followers. They don't. And so, he has like 2,200 followers, if that. And I found his page and I was like, oh, I like what he's doing, because he's someone who he builds houses for people. That's what he does. If you come to him with a negotiable instrument, he will build you a house off of that instrument. And so he's very instrumental in helping people along in this process, but also he's not going to be your first introduction to this process. You need to have an understanding of consumer law and understanding that you have your unlimited credit and understanding the position that we're in as people in order to deal with his company, because he doesn't want to accept that liability for somebody who is unsure. And I completely understand that. And he's somebody who has gone through trials and tribulations in order to get to the point where he is, to be able to be like, yeah, I can confidently stand on this. And being someone who is on the inside of the mortgage game, to be able to explain to you, like, this is what the title companies are doing. This is what the escrows are doing. So I can endorse what he does, because I've done it not only myself, not through him specifically, but along the same lines. And I know people who also operate in the same manner, and it's game recognizes game, pretty much. So
yeah,
I love when he is harboring a great community.
No, I was just gonna say, if you use any notes, you should be able to understand where he's coming from. Or if you have created any kind of note out of, you know how we do, out of nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, because
considered nothing.
Ahead,
but, you know what I mean? It's kind of more the lines of pump and dump for what you know, son.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, that's it. That's why I was like, when I asked you the question, like, as far as what he was saying, I was like, man, that just reminds me, of Malika's pump and dump class. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead. I'm gonna add more on that line, because I want to have this like meeting of the mind. But go ahead, finish your thoughts, bro. Finish saying what you were saying, bro.
No. Mm-hmm. Caleb had it. I was just chiming in on that. Where he was coming from, and with Homestead, with the Homestead cat.
Yeah, I totally recognize the whole, for lack of better terms, this is no intended disrespect, but the pump and dump. You know what I mean? Where, like I said, like when we went over the pump and dump class, because Caleb, where I and McGreal know each other is from lawfulliving.com. Me and my brothers call it the jurisprudence gym, because at least it's a place where people get to exercise knowing what we're talking about. However,
yes, sir,
we're doing it from the comprehension of, okay. And it's funny because McGreal and the sister that runs Lawful Living, it seems like they get into disagreements, but they're actually like Ghost Dog and the French ice cream man. That Ghost Dog gets his ice cream from, because they're like saying the same thing. They're just saying it from different perspectives. And so Malika's position, which I completely get, because I'm Moorish American, which means I'm kind of like in the middle. I get that she's like, well, hey, you don't qualify to do these commerce things because you're not an agent, really. You would technically be impersonating an officer, 18 USC 911. However, I comprehend McReal, what you're saying and what Caleb is saying is like, well, hey, since this is how they're treating me as if I am an agent, then my stop get measured to them treating me like as if I'm an agent or an officer would be to say, well, here, I'm going to use quote unquote, as what was being said, consumer law to hold these guys at bay. Did I get that correct? Did I say that all properly?
The only part that I'm saying that comes from the pump and dump class, if you will. I hate that shit. That name, that fucking stupid ass name. But the only part to take away from that to tie it in with what Caleb and Homestead, the topic of what Homestead does is the instrument. That's it. That's the only thing that's relevant from anything Malika's talking about, because she ain't trying to be affiliated with no private banking, no instruments, no nothing, no signatures, blah blah
correct.
blah, no blah blah blah.
So let me add to both of your wisdom here, because I wanna share this. It's Indeed. Two halves of the same coin. You feel me? Two wings of the same bird. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does to me. Yeah.
Understand. She's 100% correct. You don't qualify for any of these things because you are not. You're not. It's simple. You are a living, breathing, flesh and blood person upon the land. Moorish, whatever your nationality, you are a living man under God's law. What they have tricked us into doing is accepting fiduciary responsibility for this corporation. Tie in the foundling doctrine. Your birth certificate is not you. Your social security number is not you. They are tied to an artificial creation of the United States. This person is a United States employee. This person is a 14th Amendment United States citizen. This person must abide by the same codes, rules, and regulations that we're using against the corporations. So it goes both ways, because while you are not that entity, you are the agent and beneficiary on behalf of that entity, because that entity is a trust included in a larger trust for the United States for all persons to take care of all of their debts and obligations. You, as the agent, need to be reporting all transactions to the principal, the state, or if you want to accept that liability upon yourself, to balance the books.
That's why I stopped. That's why. Okay, so this is where I kill that argument. I mean, not argument, but statement. I may be the agent per se right now as we sit right now at this very moment. I am the agent. I'm guarding all my shit. I'm the fiduciary of over all my shit. But as soon as I make a move and do a transaction with someone, I am no longer the fiduciary. They are. They're the agent now. I'm making them the agent now. And I'm the beneficiary. Anytime anybody makes a claim towards me, I'm not the fiduciary, not necessarily, but my move is to the beneficiary spot, and who's attempting to self-appoint themselves as fiduciary trustee while fucking with me. That's the stance that I take.
As trustee, and that is exactly correct. So the issue is people not understanding their position in law, and that is the biggest misunderstanding. And that's why they want people to focus on the straw man, and all of these different arguments that have nothing to do with the fact that it's just about your position. Because yes, when you appoint Chase to be your fiduciary and they have trustee capacity, they're only supposed to act in the best interest of that trust. And when they breach those duties, they can be held liable according to their own standards. So while it may not be you, you are able to take actions on their behalf, especially when there has been breach of fiduciary duties. And that's what people need to understand, is that while you are not the birth certificate, you are the only person who can speak for it, because it cannot speak for itself.
That's
And
why.
that's
Are we on record? Are we on YouTube? What we at?
We're live on YouTube, bro. Like that's why I'm about to just screen share and go because I feel like a fiduciary. I feel like a fiduciary code is about to pop up. Like I should be typing in 28 USC 6903 right now, bro.
I ain't gonna get all deep, but one just needs to secure their position upon application. How about that? Hey, I'm such and such. I'm fixing to do some business with this person or that whatever. I'm gonna let them know. Let ABC know that this is the relationship and this and this and that. I'm not this. We're not going to be doing this. We're not going to be doing that. It's not that hard. So I'm just going to give a list of instructions and make sure they understand the assignment. Right. And then we go from there. My credit's not to be ran. It's good. I don't have to get all. I'm not going to go all down into the just of it. But all I need to know if I'm going to get a house or a car. I just need to let them know who they are, and there's no down payment. My credit's good. You don't need to run my credit, and I can pop the codes off. No big deal. That's it. Instructions, and then from there, if we want to do the financing scheme, of course, I'm going to supply on the application, I'm going to supply the proper endorsement. And along with instructions on any financing scheme to let them know where the proceeds is to go. And holler at your boy.
Indeed. So let's say we're utilizing then what you and Caleb just basically said, like, because I know, as you even posted in that live on TikTok that we all was just at, you talked about 28 USC 6903, notice of fiduciary relationship. So, and we know Title 26 is the tax revenue code. So when it's saying that upon notice to the secretary, I'm pretty sure we're talking about one, if not two secretaries. One being what you say?
For the judge, for the treasury. It's the secretary of treasury. It ain't no.
Of course.
This is just for the judge or anybody attempting to open motherfucking accounts in your name that you don't even really know. That you don't know. How about that? You don't know. So, and then you want to come in here and you want me to come in here and let you off the hook because it's just simple. If I open an account in your name and without authority or without your permission, but I get you to come over as a way to validate what I've done. Well, then everything's gravy train, right? Everything's cool. If you show up. If I get you to show up, if I get you to come to my house, to say, hey, I bought this for you, or I opened this for you, you cool with that? And you show up and you don't, you don't say nothing. Now I'm gonna take the liability and throw it to you. Here, well, you got to pay for it now.
whereas
just in layman's terms.
Yeah. So I mean, let's just see if we can take what's even said right here and put it in just practical terms, right? So if you're telling the Secretary of Treasury, hey, there's somebody who wants to act on my behalf, and that actor on one's behalf is called a fiduciary or one who's in fiduciary capacity. So this fiduciary now is assuming powers, rights, duties, and privilege of whomever they're being fiduciary for in respect of a tax imposed by Title 26, except as otherwise. Go ahead. What were you about to say?
Just said that. Just let you know that all the court shit is a tax. I mean, shit, everything's a tax anyway. But that's just letting you. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead. I don't know if that was me echoing or what.
Oh no, I was just saying that 100%. No matter what, there's a public and a private side to everything. We have to learn not to commingle the two. But when it comes to court, it's taxes. For example, let's take the basic gun rights. We know from the Second Amendment we have a right to bear arms. Any other restrictions are unconstitutional. So if you get a gun charge, though on the public side, they're hitting you with unlawful possession of a firearm. On the private side, they're charging you for not paying the taxes on the firearm. Does that make sense? It is 100% tax court. But what's crazy about these tax courts is that they're not reporting to the IRS. So how does you catching what I'm laying down here?
Yeah, they're absconding. You just said that they're slush funding whatever finances in the form of Federal Reserve notes or U.S. debits. They're slush funding them by putting them in CRIS accounts and not reporting it, which would be then tax absconding, if I comprehended that correctly.
Yes, sir.
So with that
absconding, all kinds of tax evasion, misappropriation of funds by fiduciary, man, we get golden around here.
Yeah, like straight up. And then that's why I said I didn't mind. I mean, granted, like I said, it's 3:32 Eastern in the morning. However, I know the astrology and what's going on right now as far as for myself. So I'm not going to sit here and ignore the favor that I'm seeing in alignment right now of being able for, us to have this conversation, for me to just catch on the humble that my brother McGrill was live with you guys. Because I think what can happen, which is what my purpose is. If you guys don't know, most of the people that observe Seven Hill Stars YouTube channel, they know my whole position is not like most Moorish Americans. I'm for my whole Moorish community. However, I really read these books that are behind me pertaining to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And in order to change the people, you must change their literature. It's just not about some pocket group of Moors or just Moorish Americans alone. We're actually supposed to be the angels for the planet. We're actually here to help life be better on the planet for everyone, whether they're a Moor or Moorish subject, as according to the actual law as it's written. We're not supposed to be like, I'm the great grand poobah of shit. Like, that's not the position that I take. So I'm just brother Hassan, and what I trust can, take place is me being able to find that balance between the extremist Moorish American that just wants to be very angry when that's not what's not the fucking instruction. It's speak in an intelligent tone so that ye may be rendered a favorable reply, and being able to take that and then further comprehending the civics. Alrighty, the foundation, which is, okay, this is a being wanting to use a public act codified as a United States code. Great. Let me find out what the applicability, the legislative intent, the scope, and the definitions are of that so-called public act or public law codified as a United States code, and then go about making sure I am holding these tax agents, because they're performing functions of public office, right? Okay, cool. They work for whatever so-called agency. Cool. They are tax agents. Cool. We need to make sure that these tax agents comprehend that they're not going to trade places with us.
They're supposed to post that shit for the public too, but that's a whole nother violation, another story. So there's that too.
Period.
They're hiding it. I already explained, my how I ran my documents for the disqualify. I blast them, man. I blast them all the way out there. I snip them out.
Yeah, correct, man. Because it's like, okay, like, what's supposed to happen is everybody should be able to have food, clothing, and shelter without thinking they are obligated to be under occupation of enacting anything under 5 United States Code, which is governmental organizations and employees, or thinking they have to be regulated, which is more employee stuff, under 20 CFR 422.104. It's like, oh, you got to have this foundling certificate and this tax identification number called a social security number. And having these two things now says that you can get these things. Well, that sounds like a crime. And that crime is called discrimination. And so at the end of the day, with this discrimination in place, feigning as the law, it is violating nature's law.
So did Buddy get kicked off? Did Homestead his live got shut down or what?
Yo, bro, when I tell you that he said, "Hey man, somebody just Karen'd me," isn't that like the language he said, Kaylee? Like, yeah, man, it's a Karen. I just got a strike for hate speech.
For hate speech, and not 30 seconds to a minute later, the live was off, and I was like, well, I guess that's that. And I know what happened. They suspended him. They banned him for a week or two. Go live. Probably put another strike against his page. I know he's posted a few of them recently. And that's really what happens on TikTok. That's often why I don't go live, is because whenever you get in there, suddenly it's hate speech, and now you're banned, and now they have reason to come against your page, and I don't like that.
They got me for I was going over the disqualification of the judge, trying to hit people on to the simple process and kill the court case from the jump street, and by the time I got halfway through the video, because I talk like I talk to, I might have been cussing. I mean, big fucking deal. But next thing you know, my shit's on, popping on the screen. Next thing you know, I'm banned for a fucking week. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Oh, that's bananas. Yeah, that's bananas.
They banned my 1099. That's why I don't even mention it anymore. Like I said before, you get 1099A. Both sides, the court case, you could, especially in a debt collector, the debt collector comes in with the debt to court. They got a series of their file or account number on their initial communications with you before they bring it to court. So I filed a 1099A on the same amount on that number, and then I filed the same amount on the case number on both sides. Bam, bam. So the debt ended up being $160,000 instead of $80,000. So now, and then I took that, and then I ran the 3949A and the 14039 on the attorney, 3949A on the judge, 14039 on the attorney, and then the 211 on both of them. And that shit disappeared. The judge was de-seated, never came back. The attorney stepped down, and then like 6 months later, they got a new judge and a new attorney. But I ended up winning anyway. But I didn't know how to complete that cycle, but it was enough on just what I did that alone to get him up off the bench forever and make the attorney step down, right? Didn't kill the case necessarily, but I was sitting around like twirling my thumbs, bro. Like, what do I do? This has been a while now. So I'm like, I mean, I was too scared to fill out the, I think I could have completed a circle with the 1040, 1041 or whatever, but I didn't really want to, I don't want to press my luck under penalty of perjury. So I just left it alone and, waited for it to start twirling my thumbs, waited a couple months turned into 4 months, 4 months turned into 6. And then I was like, damn, what's going on? Finally I got a notice, with a new judge and a new, and a new attorney.
Indeed, bro. I'm just bringing up some things that you mentioned. So no one's ever seen Form 3949A, right?
And then the funny thing is, not to be all long-winded on that, but like I said before, I just beat them with the simple. I ended up beating the debt with the administrative process. You know what I'm saying? I defaulted them. And then I didn't even when I defaulted them, and then when I showed up to court with the new judge and the new attorney, I was in a Zoom. I told you just before probably, but I didn't even put the default on the record. I just mentioned it in open court. It's like, yeah, I already defaulted them, Your Honor. I told them to send me the instrument on the underlying obligation because we never did business with that particular entity. They're just trying to collect. So I'm like, they never answered me. And I said, they refused payment. So I don't know what you want to do here. And then I said, I mentioned the same to Your Honor. I said, I said, they failed to give me the instrument, blah, blah, blah. She's like, well, there's a copy here. I said, Your Honor, I might not understand that there's no original instrument on the underlying obligation so that I can make it payable. and she was quiet for like it seemed like minutes, bro.
Yeah, because what you're asking for is the inception document. You know what I mean? Yeah, basically, that's what I'm saying. How did it get started? What was its inception? And the inception of most things.
We filled out the application with a whole other entity. So there's no way that the entity coming after was would even have it. So when Your Honor responded, she said, like after 20 seconds, she's like, I understand there's no instrument. She's like, no.
So that's why you use the information referral. Basically, you're saying a 3949 thing. You're hilarious.
She said, this case is hereby adjourned. If you want to petition, blah, 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 blah. She's telling me now. If you want to petition, blah, 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 you have to follow rules like everyone else. I don't need to petition shit. We done now. We cool. I'm good. Holla at your boy.
which again is an inducement for you to act as something that you're not. That's why I said it always. Everything is discrimination with these people. Everything is witness against yourself. And so those things are not right. They are not correct. They are not something that can be said to be of full faith. So that's why it's like when you like, yo, I use the 3949A on the judge, which if we just look here, information referral, use this form to report suspected tax law violations by a person or a business. I'm just reading the top here, guys. Caution, read the instructions before completing this form. Now, granted, we already know how I think. I think that the IRS forms or any forms of any corporation should be filled out by their employees, technically. However, since you are being forced, so to speak, or people want to play ignorant, like, well, everybody is, a United States citizen. Since that's the case, I can see why some would fill this form out.
You can file that shit on everybody who, if they don't do what the fuck you say do, God damn it. That's what it is.
Because what you're doing with this form, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're doing the same thing that these beings should be doing when they are really reporting each other to not have to deal with being prosecuted with misprision of felony, 18 U.S.C. 4. That's how I see this document could be used to prevent, that. So what you're doing is you're like, hey, I noticed something, I saw something, so I'm saying something. And it says further, there may be other more appropriate forms specific to your complaint. For example, if you suspect your identity was stolen, and that's when McReal was like, yo, I put a 14039 on the attorney, which is the form. I'm going to click the hyperlink there that deals with identity theft. Now, this isn't saying, hey, guys, do these things like this. Again, this is a senior conversation. If we're talking to freshmen, it's all good. Like, just recognize.
That's why you could do the attorney. You can fill this shit out. Actually, you could double juice them motherfucker. You could hit them with the attorney no authority real quick and do administrative process.
Correct.
And then when you don't get it, because we know you ain't got it. You ain't got it. when they ain't got it, you go ahead and hit the 14039 on there and attach the default.
Correct. So he just said the attorney no authority. I'm trying to do my best just to keep up with McReal here. As you guys see, I'm going to pick the second selection, which is Rule 12 for the Texas Rule of Civil Procedure 12. And this is being brought up. You may not be near the Texas State Republic. You may be someone who's near Wisconsin somewhere, or near the New York State Republic or Florida.
Take the fucking default, run the bar grievance, with the bar, attach the default, run it with the attorney general. Attorney general got its own motherfucking form for the attorneys. It's more stringent than it seems like the bar grievance tactic, because the the form. I don't know what the form the calls for. At least in my state, I remember it was a little more stringent. Like I want to say, and I would just say as a just a rule of thumb, like under penalty of perjury, something like that. I'm not going to say that specifically, but something that jumped out on the page made me to let me know that was more stringent than the bar grievance. But either way, both will suffice.
Yeah. So with the spirit of full faith and credit, by taking something from one so-called state and utilizing it in another so-called state, Rule 12 of the Texas Rules of Civil Procedure can be utilized to ask for the attorney's authority or demand. So a party in a suit or proceeding pending in a court of this state, and again, this state means for tax purposes, one's performing functions of public office for tax purposes, but to continue reading, may be sworn, may by sworn written motion. So there's a written motion stating that he, the party, right, believes the suit or proceeding is being prosecuted or defended without authority. So earlier, delegation was brought up when we were on Homestead Nation's TikTok Live. And so boom, right there, this Rule 12, Texas Rules of Civil Procedure is already right there, just saying, hey, look at this. I think that this attorney, because we already know this is in harmony with Trenzy versus Pagliaro. You know what I mean? Which got brought up. Caleb, you brought it up today. You know what I mean? In that live, you brought it up. You know what I mean? So with that being said, this Rule 12 of Texas Rule of Civil Procedure, it is basically saying that if the attorney doesn't have the authority, then he needs to stop trying to try the case, right? Because the attorney to be, they want to cause the attorney to be cited to appear before the court and show his authority to act. So if you guys remember, I know McReal knows this because we go over this in Lawful Living, but this is what we were saying about, if there's no minutes meeting where we can request the minutes of that meeting where the board or commission of a particular corporation or agency or company having in their minutes meeting that they decided to hire some particular attorney to be counsel for them, then that attorney, that attorney is on some BS. What'd you say?
Oh, I was just saying 100%. If they do not have the authority to prosecute, the suit gets dropped from the beginning. Now
it's time to make the claim.
So I'd like to segue into a couple of things. Milo versus United States. Jurisdiction can be challenged at any time. What's challenged, it must be proven. And I could name about 5 other Supreme Court cases that say the same thing.
Said Milo versus United States.
But listen. You don't even.
MLO versus United States.
I was just gonna say, but once, if for him to have authority, delegation of authority, that's due process. That is due process as well. So if there's no due process, there can be.
You can hit after that's it right there. Christine Roth Milo versus United States of America. That's it.
There can be no jurisdiction if there's no due process.
100% not.
I don't even.
Why I'll tell people, never fight the charges. Fight that they have the authority to have you in there. That is the Form 11, the Form 3949, and the identity theft form. So when you challenge these things, the prosecutors go running with their tail between their legs because they have none. They have no delegation of authority. If you request on the record that they provide you with their delegation of authority in accordance with the rules of discovery, which state that the government must make available to you any relevant oral or written statement if it is within the government's possession, or the prosecutor for the government knows with due diligence that it could exist, that falls back into the burden of proof being on the prosecution. Allow them to prove that they have any authority to bring you in there in the first place, which they never can.
Boom. Then we're looking at all kinds of FDCPA, false claims violations. I mean, you name it. Identity theft. Man, it started getting fun then.
Yo, did you look?
Identity theft, anything you could. Now, if you do a search, right, you should be able to search on the webpage. Search for the word jurisdiction in this court case. Find on page, there should be an option that you can search the words on the page. Search for jurisdiction. I want to pull you to that specific precept where it says, in that case, jurisdiction can be challenged at any time. And once challenged, it must be proven. Yep, find on page, jurisdiction. Just like
always
that.
try to walk past that too. That's funny. That's funny you mentioned that.
It's 11 results.
So let's go. Defendant's motion urged that the court lack jurisdiction. Keep going.
Oh shit.
You want me to hit the down arrow on the next one?
It'll be failed to comply with the regulation, blah, blah, blah. Keep going.
Alrighty, going to 3 out of 11 now.
Keep going.
Got you.
Meeker.
Yes, sir. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So almost, but I'd like to look at this point here. The trial court, by reason of the plaintiff's failure to exhaust her administrative remedies, acquired no jurisdiction over the plaintiff's claim. When clearly it appears that the court lacks jurisdiction, the court has no authority to reach the merits. In a situation, the action should be dismissed for want of jurisdiction. And if you don't know what that means, that basically means if they don't have jurisdiction or they can't prove it, they have to let the action go. But keep on going. You're gonna have to, because it's going to take you down to each of those three. So keep going.
For want means to me volunteer.
Yep. It also means lack to me. If you want something, that means you lack it.
Yeah, it says that in there. Dismissal for lack. Yeah.
Yep. Keep on going. It's not going to be here. Oh wait, there should be one more.
And the one more is right there. That's 11 out of 11.
Okay, so it may not have been. It's not going to be in that exact wording, but as you can see through the definitions of jurisdiction, the court lacking jurisdiction is part of the issue here. And the court lacking jurisdiction, one of the opinions that was given is that jurisdiction can be challenged at any time. And once challenged, it must be proved. And so that's one of the things that the court must prove, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense.
Check it out. This is how I attack it from the get go, because 26 USC 6903A, since they didn't give notice to the secretary, right? That's due process. So if there's no due process, there's no jurisdiction. Okay, fine.
Nope.
And all orders are void as a matter of law. Okay, cool. And any attempts to proceed on is treason. Okay, so let's just stop there. No due process, no jurisdiction. Now, let's speed up to the attorney communicating with you before he brings you to court. 15 USC 1692C, 15 USC 1692 IB, and so on and so forth, right? So how do they get past, especially at C? How does the attorney able to rock past 15 USC 1692C without the written express consent of the consumer or the express permission of a court of competent jurisdiction? I just told you, though, if he didn't get notice from the secretary, there's no due process and no jurisdiction. So
that's my entire point. They never get permission from the secretary.
My bad. How can the attorney ever have a court of competent, express permission from a court of competent jurisdiction? So therefore, you allowed him to bypass the FDCPA because you never initiated the case with due process. So therefore, it's conspiracy to commit the following violations.
Acquiescence. RICO was made for the government. You can't convince me otherwise. But you're exactly right. If you don't call them out on these things, they're just going to keep on acting like it doesn't exist. And that's what people don't understand. And if you go down to 1692E, the false representation that anyone is an attorney is against the law. There is no attorney. Go ahead. Go click on over to 1692E. See what it say.
Yeah, we know.
They don't exist.
Yeah, we know what it is.
So, when you're filing these forms, whether it be a 3949 or a 14039 or a 211 on the judge and the prosecutor, it's because, again, they are simply impersonating officers of the United States. They're not paying their taxes. And even more than that, if you take a look at their oath of office in accordance with Title V, I guarantee you that their name is not going to be proper. There's going to be extra words added. There's going to be something in that oath of office that doesn't line up exactly with the federal standard. The same thing with warrants that tell you that warrants must be signed in wet ink. But guess what? Electronic signatures, rubber stamp signatures, those are void in accordance with State versus Pollock. So any warrant that they have is invalid. Anything that they have is invalid. There's no aspect of any court proceeding where they're not violating your due process. And if enough people understood that, they wouldn't be dealing with these cases.
Every single case, exactly. And that's what I was trying to say earlier about the child support. This code he has up right now. As soon as the attorney speaks, it violates 1 and 3. In the first sentence, 1 sentence, 2 violations. Attorney such and such for the state of such and such. Oh, that's 2 violations in 1 sentence.
Keep on scrolling. The false representation of under number 2. Under one of those letters, you're going to see that someone is an attorney or acting as an attorney.
That's 3.
Oh, there it is. Yep. The false representation or implication that any individual is an attorney or that any communication is from an attorney.
That's 1 and 3 in every child support case at the beginning of the case. Every time, all the time. Every time the attorney speaks, they violate 3, number 1 and number 3.
Because look at what number 1 says. The false representation or implication that the debt collector is vouched for, bonded by, or affiliated with the United States or any state. It's bullshit.
So the state of attorney such and such for the state of. Oh, this shit's funny.
Yeah, because they have a state certificate from the Supreme Court.
Law game, you hit them with the statutory law. You don't have permission from the secretary. You don't have authority to do this. You are acting in false and misleading representations. That also goes into furnishing deceptive forms, which is also under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, because again, these entities are debt collectors. Doesn't matter if it's IRS, CIA, FBI, USA, they are all debt collectors. The letter people, we don't deal with the letter people.
Every single child support document on everybody's case has at the very top caption says state of blah 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 versus most of them, unless they were in marriage. But after a while, it's gonna go from the female to the agency / state. So it's gonna change after a while during the case. So no biggie. But usually it just says state of, for most of us, it just says state of such and such, ET all versus all capping. So,
and guess what? When you turn around and you beat them, it's gonna say in error. Okay, in error, because they came against you in error. Those are the cases you need to be looking at. Come on now.
No shit.
What's interesting too, because I wanted to add to the wisdom about debt. You said you never heard what, bro?
I never heard what he just said. In error.
Say it again.
Oh, you don't know about that? So when you get your court case, if you've ever looked at a court case and it'll say United States versus Donovan in error, right? In error means that they pursued a claim against this person and they were later proven false.
Got you. So that's another way of kind of having something on the record where, you know, how people was like, yo, they'll never put it out there that you beat these people. And it sounds like what you're saying is in error.
Look up any court case where it's all like United States versus defendant in error because they were in error pursuing this case. Does that make sense?
Okay, so we'll do that.
So if you go into Cornell Law, LexisNexis, not Cornell Law, what is it? Westlaw or LexisNexis, and you type in error, you'll pull up all the cases where the United States lost against defendants, pro se or not, because they were in error. So that's something that most people don't know.
That's every single child support case across the damn nation, bro.
Every single one. Because on top of the fact that it's a conflict of interest, again, these agencies are not government, bonded by government, et cetera, et cetera. What request these things in discovery. This is why people don't win, because they don't know the rules. They're playing checkers when the court is playing chess. But if you know how to play chess, then guess what? The court ain't going to beat you with the rules of checkers, which is what they apply. Does that make sense? It's all a trickery, which is why I have been able to take federal cases and tell these people to go fuck themselves. Excuse my French, but the thing is, I don't know how they sleep at night. Look into this. Judges they're evil. Court cases, judges get paid for prosecuting. We know that prisons are a for-profit system with quotas where they have a contract with the United States government that they will keep their facilities at least 80% full, because if they don't, they'll have to pay a penalty. That doesn't seem very fair at all, does it? Because if courts are getting paid per inmate and they have quotas that they have to meet, that means they're locking people up just to lock fucking people up. And that makes me sick. And guess what they do? All the money that they get from these court cases go into the judge's general retirement fund. How is it that these judges are making $500,000 a year? How is that? It's because we need to find that retirement
fund. Basically, yeah, that sounds again like a conflict of interest. Like I said,
Judicial Code of Conduct, rule number 2: a judge should not let any financial or other interests interfere with his decisions on a case. And when he knows that he has a direct financial interest acting in a fiduciary relationship, you can either let him perjure himself on the record and get him to recuse himself later, or do what you're going to do.
Oh, man, I had fun. Like I told Hassan last time I was in court, man, they threw me out the building, bro. They ain't had me back in there since, dog.
Yeah, that is bananas. And that's why I think we just need to be. I was just trying to bring up something to go in on the whole, looking up in error.
So, look up United States versus in error, right? Because Westlaw, like I said, Westlaw is a pay terminal for their case law as well as LexisNexis. Yeah. So even if you go on Google and just type in United States in error, you'll see some cases. So like, click on that one, United States versus Vaughn. It should say versus defendant in error. Oh, let me see. Because I got some direct cases where it specifically lists in error.
Yeah. You just let me know what you find, and so while you're looking for that, just let me add to the wisdom about debt real quick, because when you guys were speaking on that 15 USC 1692E, and I kept seeing the term debt, my mindset before even thinking about a so-called payment in terms of reaching for either Federal Reserve notes in one's pocket or transacting U.S. debit. A debt to me is a specific performance. All right. And when someone's collecting a debt, it's almost as if like they're trying to record witnessing you performing a certain way. And my thing is, of course I can.
Can you look up Martin
performing debt
MOTT 25 US 19.
Yeah, I got you.
So
Hold
you'll
on
see
one second.
Martin versus plaintiff in error.
I got you. 1 second. What was the last thing you said, McGrill? I just want to make sure we got that on the record. Like
Martin versus
no, not you, Caleb. Not you, Caleb. I'm not being
my
respectful because we're gonna go to that. What was the last thing McGrill just said?
I said if it's a performing debt, it's owed to me. You got my shit. I'm the holder. I'm an entitlement holder, etc. You got my shit over there. So
Correct.
if anybody's supposed to be, look, you got my shit. You the trustee, homie. Come on, man. This stuff's once you know about the relationship, this shit is simple. I mean, it's simple, man. It's almost too simple that we overlook it. Now that I know it, if that's possible.
Yeah, indeed. Caleb, now what were you saying,
Like I
Morton?
said, how do I work for you? We said that earlier. How do I work for you? How do you, you know what I mean? I don't work for you. You work for me.
Yeah,
So if it's performing, come on and perform for daddy.
Indeed, bro. So Caleb, what you say, Morton versus what, bro? I didn't mean, like I said, I didn't mean to cut your wisdom. I just want to make sure that
Martin
Martin
versus
okay.
MOTT 25 US 19.
You said MOTT like Mott?
Yeah, Mott 25 US 19. Yes, sir. Click on that one. Or here. So again, okay, I see. It must just not be showing up on Justia. If you go back and you look up that court case under Cornell.
Okay, let's do that. Let's look it up under Cornell. I'm with it.
I see. Yeah, Justia just doesn't include those labels.
Well, Dred Scott is plaintiff.
Oh, look, Dred Scott versus plaintiff in error. Click on that.
Well, Dred Scott is the plaintiff in error in the Dred Scott case, actually.
So that proves my point even more. And then also, if you just wanted to search up, if you wanted to search up in error, the legal definition, you could pull that up. But this case was brought up by writ of error from the Circuit Court of the United States of the District Court of Missouri. Now, they are in error because he brought a writ against them, right? And we know what writs are, the 5 types of writs: habeas corpus, mandamus, quo warranto, and there's 2 others. When you bring a writ against these agencies and you're trying to force them to abide by their duties, when your writ is granted and you are successful, when you win, as I said, they are considered in error. You see what I mean? Because the suit in its entirety was in error of the court, because they should have known, according to law, what was and what was not acceptable. So Dred Scott, we all know what the Dred Scott decision was. Okay? In error. So understand that. And again, you'll find that attached to a lot of court cases. You might not see it in Justia law, as he just demonstrated. However, you'll find that a lot of these court cases that we use to our advantage in this movement are in error against the plaintiffs or defendants. You see?
Yeah, how I see the Dred Scott thing. Dred Scott was the reason why he was a plaintiff in error, because of course, being Moorish American, this is one of the landmark cases we come across to help people to comprehend why nationality is so important to a people that have been calling themselves a color out of the crayon box or associating with 2 different continents, right? And because there is no respect in law, really, for anyone calling himself Negro of African descent or Black or African American. Now, I do have documentation that I can bring up off the top of my head, because me being Moorish American, I have to know these other documents, like the Second Congress meeting for the USA expatriation papers from the Secretary of State from that was like 1906. And if I was to bring these things up and you see how much they mention Morocco and the jurisdiction of Moorish, like, but just think about it. If it's 1906, why are they mentioning a Morocco 50 years before the French protectorate called the Kingdom of Morocco? If most people that have been socially engineered, you know what I mean? They're like, well, what about this? Well, how are they talking about Morocco? And then Morocco wasn't established till 1956. Well, that's proof that there is still and was then a Morocco that firstly recognized the United States of America Corporation, which owes an allegiance. The United States of America Corporation owes an allegiance still to the continental government. So a lot of people are like, well, the Continental Congress is overthrown. I mean, it's dissolved. No, it's not. It's just temporarily overthrown until people that know this information, like I'm saying, or like we're even discussing here, can now hold these people to their obligation. I mean, yeah, bro. I mean, it's only but so much matrix. I mean, the veil is very thin, and to some of us, there is no veil. The only thing that has to be done is proper instruction, and then these people do what we instruct them to do, because a lot of them are just paycheck cashers. They work in positions of agencies yet they lack the historical, quote unquote historical, but they lack the records that we're even discussing right now. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm going to do is do my best to go to I don't know if that might not be the directory, but I wanted to use this and then click the search for Martin V. Mott, which is what Caleb had mentioned.
US 19.
I did forget to put that. So let me actually.
Oh, no, there it is. 25 US 19.
Mary and Joseph.
There it is. That was it.
We're right there.
Versus defendant in error. Click on that first one that you were just on.
All right. So let me see let me see where I can click. I'm hoping it's right here.
Click on the Congress power. Yeah.
Okay. And
scroll down. There should be a section for Martin versus Mott where you can click on it.
Okay. I'm hoping it's right here on number 4.
Yep. 25 US right there. 19 versus defendant in error.
Plaintiff in error versus defendant in error. This is interessante. This is giving me like Rule 17 vibes of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure.
So error to the court of the trial of impeachments and correction of errors of the state of New York. So again, all of these suits are proceeding in error due to a lack of education on the behalf of the prosecutors.
Got you.
So,
got you.
I want people to be aware of what they're looking at in law when they see these things. But like I said, you'll find that most of these cases, at least if you pull them up in Cornell law, and sometimes if you go right into the actual federal report of books, you'll see it's listed in error. You see what I mean? So correct. I want people to pay attention to these things because, again, if you have ever been in a case versus the state or the United States and you have won, not having them dismiss it due to their own issues, but I'm talking about when you take it to trial court and you have to issue a writ in order to win your case and make them perform their lawfully obligated duties, that is when you will find that they will switch over the name of that court case to being in error. And there is a reason for that. And a lot of people don't realize that. But again, when they are acting in error, we have recourse. We have remedy.
So it sounds like what you're also saying is if they are seeming to proceed against you, you are some way, shape, or form putting on the record, either you're filing it with a clerk or something to be able to have it amended to have an error amended within the title of, you know, the so-called court case. Did I get that properly? Or
hey, Caleb, I'm not to cut you off with that. That's what I was reaching out for you a while back about the Wyndham shit. I think it was
what?
The Wyndham.
Wyndham.
The Wyndham.
Oh, Wyndham. Yes.
That fucking bullshit ass trickery fucking.
The fucking timeshare companies. Oh yeah.
Yes.
I love to bully timeshare companies.
Man, my homegirl and her dude or whatever, they got the Wyndham thing.
What am I looking up?
They paid like 20 grand already, bro.
So what am I looking up for Wyndham?
So
hold on, Hassan.
All right.
When I tell you how simple it is to get rid of them, you're gonna slap yourself. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah,
I'm serious. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I have done for well over 100 timeshare companies. Not only Wyndham. Who are all the big players? Diamond something. But anyways, the point is this. You send them a letter, right? You send them a letter. It's basic contract law.
Right.
Club Wyndham, yep. You send them a letter and you say, look, I'm canceling my timeshare contract. If you don't respond within 30 days, I'm going to consider this matter moot. Right?
Right.
That simple. So a lot of times they'll respond and they'll say, your request for timeshare cancellation is rejected, blah, 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 blah. You follow up with the second letter, a notice of default, if you will. And you say, no, I'm not requesting for you to cancel my timeshare. I'm telling you that I'm done with this contract. It's unlawful. And I know you can't enforce it, so I'm not going to pay you anymore. And also, I remove your right that I gave you to report to my credit. That's also in the first letter, where you rescind their ability to report to the credit, right? Because they say we may report delinquent balances to credit agencies. You rescind that. Now, after that second letter, 9 times out of 10, they don't respond. They 100% don't respond. But not only will they not respond, a lot of times they'll take it off your credit report if it's on there, and you won't hear from them another peep. Not only that, after that letter, I have gotten settlement offers, and I posted one of them on my page from Club Wyndham, and I think that's the video you're referring to.
Yeah, I started laughing. I was like, "Oh shit, let me holler at them."
Where they're like,
what, that's on your TikTok?
Yes. They say, we agree to let you out of your balance. In return, you can't tell anybody what happened. And I'm like, okay, sign that, and they done. But it's really that simple. Contract law. Silence is acquiescence. You give them a notice. When they fail to respond and they accept the terms of your contract, they accept the liability by acquiescence. It's that simple.
Yeah,
None
just
of my
administrative process thing.
Beyond that, boom. It's really that simple, bro.
Just simple administrative process them.
Literally, that's all I do. And it has worked for hundreds of timeshares.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That's crazy. When you said they gave you your money back, that's what, look, my eyes jumped open like, really? Yeah.
Yeah. Because again, these companies,
interesting,
while it may not be the base people, like you said, there's a segregated few who know that they are operating in error. And when it gets to those few, they're like, you better just look, we're going to take care of this. Boom, boom. You see what I'm saying? It's just like that. So many settlement offers just off of sending letters saying, I am canceling my contract. And again, they try to subvert you and they say, we're denying your request of contract cancellation, where you reiterate this isn't a request, it's a demand. You see what I'm saying? I'm not asking you anything. I'm telling you what's going on. 100% of the time, they acquiesce. It happens every single time. And I'm like, if you ever were to go to court and they would try to go to court because of what is in the letters and all the due protections, you just file those into evidence and that's it. The case is moot.
Right.
But I've never had it go that far. But it's really that simple, bro. When it comes to the timeshares, it's a simple administrative process. I sent you a letter. You didn't respond. You're in default. That's it.
All right, bet.
That is all that I do for timeshares. I'm just being 100% with you.
Bet. That's easy.
So I
Makes
know
sense.
this is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
it
I
makes
know
sense.
after that you're gonna be like, boom, let me get this done, and you going in less than 60 days, you're gonna be like, yeah, she out of that contract. Thank you, bro. Like it's that simple.
I got it. Yep. Yeah, I'll get that out of there real quick.
Yeah, no, it's really simple, bro. That's literally all I do. And that was in the beginnings of my journey. You see what I'm saying? Like my first remedies were coming against these timeshare companies. After I discharged my bill, it was that simple.
So my
This
bad.
would be at the beginning of TikTok then.
Oh, you talking about the video?
Oh no, it's not even like the beginning. It's shortly after this. It's just I have from the time of teaching these classes with Tamika, I have so many receipts that's what you're looking at.
It's been a while. It's been a while, Hassan. It's been a good minute.
Okay.
It's probably been a year ago.
Yeah, no, keep scrolling. I'm looking. I'll be able to tell you what it looks like just from the thumbnail. So I'll let you know if I see it. I'm not seeing it yet.
Knowing I probably got it saved anyway.
Hold on, wait. Scroll up. Pause now. Scroll up.
Oh, I'm still going this way.
A little bit more. No, scroll up the other way.
Oh, okay. Got you.
Hold on, just slow it down just a little bit.
The one video you did where you said you're really being disingenuous, nigga, I fell out laughing.
All right, you see that right there?
Which one?
Breaking generational.
What?
Did I go too far? Right
no,
here.
Hold on.
To everyone who has signed up for the Back to Basics registration series, the emails have gone out today. For everyone who is going to sign up in the future, there will be a reminder email 2 hours before the class tomorrow. Registration cuts off at 9 a.m. The class is going to be on billing error. As you can see, I have included an example of someone who has gotten remedy from our billing error. They are giving him his title lien free, reporting fully paid status to the credit reporting agencies. He sent them several correspondences citing the Truth in Lending Act, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and the Fair Credit Reporting Act.
All right. I'm going slowly.
No, keep scrolling down. It's going to be down from here. So the other way.
Got you.
Trying to find it, but that was a video I posted a while back. Let's see.
That's what I'm saying. It's been a year, bro.
It's definitely been a year. Keep going. Hold on.
Has it been a year, man? Huh? At least 6 to 8 months.
There it is. Hold up. Scroll up a little. That video was 7,882 views, maybe.
So for y'all don't know, when I'm not on here teaching y'all, I'm out here canceling timeshares. And this is one of the latest responses I got back. These people were so scared. Not only did they send them a confidential release agreement, they said that they had to agree to withdraw any complaints filed with any government agency.
Yeah, that's the one.
So for y'all don't know, when I'm not on here teaching y'all, I'm out here canceling timeshares. And this is one of the latest responses I got back. These people were so scared. Not only did they send them a confidential release agreement, they said that they had to agree to withdraw any complaints filed with any government agency.
And you look at what's behind my head. I cropped it for the most part, but that was a confidential release agreement. And again, they say that the purchaser... Yeah, hold up. They say that the purchaser agrees to withdraw any complaints filed with any government agency includifying the Better Business Bureau, and notify each agency that their issues have been completely resolved by, and I blocked it out, but that's Club Wyndham. So
that's why they're trying to cover their ass by still calling you the purchaser.
Yep. But that was one of the settlements I posted from a timeshare contract that I canceled. Like, it's really that simple. I literally sent them a letter.
Retarded.
And actually, if you have your email, I followed you, so send me a message on TikTok. Send me your email. I'll send you the letters that I sent to them, bro. It's really.
I'll put my email in the chat real quick.
Yeah, I'll send it to you on TikTok, bro. I'll send you the email.
Absolutely, but I can send you the letters. I can send you the exact letters that I sent to them to get that response, bro. These people aren't shit, and I know it. Like I said, I say this often. It's like if you see a bully, like if you have a bully
on the YouTube live,
constantly violating you, but then you see that bully get bitched out by somebody who's half your size, and you're like, wait a minute, is this the person I was scared of the entire time? Like, it changes your entire perspective. And that's what that was Debo. I've seen the government run with their tail between their legs so many times that I'm like, I can't respect them as an institution.
So hold on. This is the language, what we have on a screen. This is the language coming from Wyndham, yes or no?
Yes, that is from Wyndham Resorts, my brothers. Zoom in.
Zoom in. So no, I get that. So then that means that Wyndham doesn't comprehend. Yet I'm open for correction, but I'm pretty sure that the Better Business Bureau is a private company. They are not a governmental agency.
They're stealing, dude. They got so much money and so many properties. It's ridiculous because people are just basically stupid, just giving it to them.
They gotta move.
Yeah.
But I think the
Better Business Bureau is private. I'm listening.
It has been a great conversation, but I do have to go ahead and hop off the live at this time. So
and it's all good.
To say, again, I appreciate meeting you guys, and it was a great conversation. Feel free to invite me back and message me whenever, and we can have more conversations. But it was a good time, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Indeed, sent you the email. I'll send you the number too, bro. It's been a pleasure.
All right,
peace and love.
Peace and blessings. Have a good night.
Peace, man. So, man, it's all good, guys. Thank you all for joining me in this impromptu live with Caleb and McReal. So, guess I'll see you guys in a few hours for Astro Civic Sunday. All righty. Love you guys. All right. Namaste. Islam is